Video game cover art is technically the very first impression you get when seeing a video game. You look at the cover for Doom 2016, and if you had no knowledge of what Doom was, you'd think it was just some generic shooter. But in reality, when you start up the game, it's... Now take Bubsy 3D with the acclaimed Golden X Award on the cover. Now, the game has to be good if it won the prestigious Golden X. Video game cover art is becoming less and less a priority nowadays, and it makes sense. With the digital purchasing of video games becoming more popular, why even put focus on making a beautiful cover when you're just gonna have a huge library of games and not a shelf full of them? It's more convenient to just download the games. It saves space so you won't just have a shelf full of them. You can play the games the moment it becomes available, and it saves a drive to the store, which nowadays it's a good idea because of these gas prices! And one can argue that art is subjective, and while I might not find appealing, you may actually think the opposite, but your opinion is factually incorrect and stupid! You can't tell me this looks good. You can't look at this and actually think the game is going to be good. The phrase, never judge a book by its cover, is thrown out the fucking trash here. With the improvement of technology, video games have never played or looked better, and can sometimes blur the line between reality and just being a game. However, it's also come with the cost of pretty much neglecting cover art. Why create handcrafted covers that take a lot more time when you can just paste an image of the in-game model and call it a day? Which poses a problem. Graphics are improving every generation, and what was groundbreaking at the time now looks like it was created on a recycled Soulja Boy system by Beetlejuice. With that being said, cover art back then that just had the in-game model has aged poorly compared to another that was hand-drawn, which by the way came out years before. Cover art that doesn't really look good can be misleading, and unless you keep up with gameplay reveals, interviews, or trailers, it could potentially make you miss out on an otherwise fantastic game. Let's take Batman Arkham City for example. In my opinion, the best Batman game, and one of the best superhero games. But this cover art sucks! It's just white! Is this Batman or a fucking Aha music video? One could say, oh, it's Batman. The name alone is good marketing. And true, some names are so big, they can get away with just a basic cover since the name is already so well known. Look at the cover for Doom Eternal. It doesn't even have the title on the case. It doesn't need an introduction. Now Kiss Pinball. No, that's not gonna do so well. But riddle me this. Why is the cover art for the previous entry, Batman Arkham Asylum, better? And remember, my opinion is factually correct! You can actually see Arkham in the background, and it just sets the tone so nicely for the game. Now look at Spider-Man for PS4. Again, one of the best superhero games, but it's a pretty generic cover. Now, let's take it back to this! Look at the cover. Perfectly encapsulates the comic book aesthetic the game is going for. And you can play as Venom, who is also on the cover. Insomniac, your game is broken, and those games aren't even bad, but if someone knew nothing about them, the cover wouldn't exactly catch their eye or give them the right impression. Let's go back to the Atari 2600 era. Now this was way before my time. I was still swimming in my dad's nutsack during this arc. But look at these covers. Now this is quality. But, okay, I'd argue that these covers are too good! Because you'll get a cover that looks like this, only for the game to be... And this was before the internet. There were no trailers, gameplay reveals, interviews with developers. There were no graphics! So the cover art was pretty much the deciding factor for a lot of people when picking up a game. A new Atari 2600 game was $20 to $30, which doesn't sound bad, but if we factor in inflation, that's $120 to $130 for a game! And for the actual console, it was $190. Sounds like a steal, right? But again, inflation, that would be $811. So if you got the Atari 2600 with just one game, in total, that would almost be $1,000 just to play. No wonder the arcade was so popular. This is evil! One could argue and say, oh, at the time it was groundbreaking. No! Listen, as much as sports games suck nowadays, at least it looked like real life. I can't say the same for Atari. Like, you find this fun? Go outside! Just because it was something nobody had ever seen before at the time doesn't make it good. I've never seen a nuclear bomb go off in real life, but I'm pretty sure if I did, I wouldn't be jumping up and down in excitement! But I'm losing focus. Point is, during this era, the box art had to be over the top because the actual games themselves didn't look interesting, let's be honest. At least Activision was honest here, which is the only positive thing I'll say about them, considering what's going on over there now. So when it came to beautiful cover art, Atari wins here. But what the fuck was Sega doing, man? What is this? I guess if you grew up with these games, these box arts could be nostalgic, but since I didn't, I have no sympathy! This looks ugly! I would not be proud to have a collection of these cases on my shelves. It's just a dumbass drawing on graph paper. Am I playing video games or doing fucking geometry? Not to say the games are bad, but you would think they are just by looking at these. I guess there's a certain charm to them, but not for me. Now with the later consoles like the NES, the cover art still weren't 100% like the actual game. Sometimes they were though, but for the instances they weren't, you can tell what the in-game sprite is supposed to be. Contra has two guys with guns? Yeah, that looks like two guys with guns. Oh, you got Mario? Yeah, that looks like Mario. This was also around the time we saw some of the most iconic cover art, like Super Mario Bros. 3. Even if you haven't played this game, you've probably seen a bunch of people wearing it on a t-shirt. It's kind of like how people wear shirts with names of metal bands, even though they probably don't even know who they are. But this is also where we got the most infamous cover art. What happened here? Why does Mega Man have a pistol? He uses a hand cannon! And why does he look like he got his suit at the dumpster behind the Party City? At least in Japan it looks nice and cute. Anyway, this is a good segue into how cover art changes depending on the region. I used to think every cover looked the same, but then I realized I was wrong when I played Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 is one of my favorite games of all time, aside from... But even back then, I didn't like the cover art. I mean, what the hell am I looking at? This is a mess! But then when I found out about the cover over in Japan, I felt cheated. This perfectly captures what the game is going for, sitting at a bonfire with the unknown darkness up ahead. I can almost hear the Firelink Shrine music when I look at this. I just get like a certain feeling of tranquility just looking at it. What the fuck is this? What do you think this game is about when you look at it? I bet you didn't think a space shooter! I mean, don't get it twisted. The Japanese cover art doesn't look either. I mean, it looks like well, you know. But why does the American version have an old man with a banjo? Nintendo approved of this! A lot of times, America gets the short end of the stick for box art. Not only with the examples I showed before, but this too. Look how in the Japanese version, Snake is hand-drawn, while in the American version, they just zoomed in on his face! Talk about lazy. And look at Majora's Mask, Infamous, Injustice, Ratchet & Clank, the Sly Cooper collection. I mean, that's not to say we don't do it better sometimes, like with Okami, Shadow of the Colossus, Halo Combat Evolved. Shit, sometimes none of us know what the fuck we're doing. What is this? Dan Schneider might like the one on the left, but I couldn't tell you what the game was about just looking at these. I've also noticed American box arts look more aggressive. You look at the Japanese Spyro box art, and he's so cute, and everybody's just happy. But in America, everyone's pissed! In Japan, Kirby is this cute little ball of joy, but in America, he's pissed! Even in Final Fantasy, in Japan, all the box art follows this theme of a white background with the name of the game and vibrant colors. It's simple, but it's effective and actually looks nice. It follows a theme. Yeah, in America, let's just have all these generic ass covers with anime characters. Yeah! Now, let's talk about box art today. It goes back to my point in the beginning where the improvement of visuals in video games has allowed for just the pasting of the in-game models on the cover as opposed to how it used to be back in the 8-bit and 16-bit era of video games due to the limitations at that time. It's like companies don't even try now with these generic covers. It's just a person on the cover half the time. That's not to say it can't look good sometimes, but who's to say in a few years that this box art is gonna look like ass? Look at the Eco cover in Japan. It just looks so nice and mysterious to me, right? Now look at America. Ugh! You see what I mean? And I know most of us don't care, right? I mean, as long as the actual game is good, then who cares about some stupid picture on the box? And with the convenience of digital downloads, the cover art for games is becoming less and less important because you're not really gonna be focusing on the cover. You're gonna be focusing more on the game. And if you collect the actual physical games, I mean, wouldn't you want your collection to be filled with good-looking pieces of art? I just feel like it's going to keep going on that steady decline since most companies prefer profit over quality. I mean, there are hidden gems though, but not enough. Even manuals are a thing of the past. I really only get physical copies of video games if it's a game I'm really looking forward to, you know? And sometimes, they look pretty damn sleek too. Well, that was my little rant, I guess, on cover art and how it should return to quality instead of just half-assing it. What do you think? Did you agree or disagree with anything I said? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, thanks for watching.